In 53 years, no human has ventured beyond Earth's gravitational embrace to journey to the moon. Not since Apollo 17 splashed down in December of 1972 has anyone dared to make that trip. An entire generation has been born, grown, and started families of their own in the vast gap between that last lunar mission and this one. But now, as early as April 2026, four astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, are set to climb into a capsule the size of 2 minivans, pointed directly at the moon. Among them, we'll see the first woman, the first person of color, and the first non-American to travel beyond low Earth orbit. This is Artemis II, and the reality of this mission is far wilder, more claustrophobic, and more dangerous than most people realize. Join me as we trace their journey, step by step, from the moment they strap in, to their return to the Pacific Ocean 10 days later, uncovering the profound challenges and revelations that await them. Our journey begins on the ground, at Kennedy Space Center in Florida, on launch day. The crew has spent days in quarantine, isolated from their families, undergoing rigorous medical checks, and adhering to a strict sleep and nutrition plan meticulously engineered down to the calorie. All this ensures they are perfectly hydrated and sharp for the monumental task ahead. They suit up in their Orion Crew Survival System suits, bulky, pressurized garments designed as wearable lifeboats to protect them should the cabin lose pressure during ascent. These aren't the sleek, cinematic spacesuits, they are heavy, functional, and purpose-built. They ascend the launch tower at Pad 39B, the very same complex that launched the Apollo missions, and climb into their spacecraft, which they've named Integrity. It rests atop NASA's most powerful rocket ever, the Space Launch System, standing 98.1 meters tall and weighing 2.61 million kilograms fully fueled. To put that into perspective, it's taller than the Statue of Liberty and roughly 8 times heavier than a fully loaded 747. Beneath them, 2 solid rocket boosters and 4 RS-25 engines are poised to unleash 39.49 million newtons of thrust, a staggering 15% more power than the Saturn V that carried Apollo astronauts to the moon. The RS-25s are not new designs, they are evolved versions of the engines that powered the Space Shuttle for 3 decades, meticulously rebuilt and recertified for a rocket they were never originally intended for. Commander Reed Wiseman takes his seat, with pilot Victor Glover beside him. Mission specialists Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen are positioned behind them. For adults packed into a cabin roughly 9.34 cubic meters, a space NASA often likens to 2 minivans. While this is about 60% more room than the Apollo Command Module offered its 3-person cruise, spread across 4 astronauts, the space still feels far from generous. Christina Koch once quipped that she was counting on microgravity to make the cabin feel larger once they were floating. She will certainly need it. As the countdown reaches 0, the RS-25 engines roar to life, followed half a second later by the thunderous ignition of the solid rocket boosters. This is an experience no amount of training can fully prepare them for. Former astronaut Wendy Lawrence once described the sensation of a space shuttle launch as an immense weight pressing down on her chest, a force so heavy she couldn't even lift her arm. The SLS is even more powerful than the shuttle. The crew will endure roughly 3 times the force of gravity, pinning them into their seats as the rocket claws its way upward through the atmosphere. Their bodies will feel 3 times their normal weight, breathing will become a strenuous effort, and movement will be nearly impossible. A deep, resonant vibration from the solid boosters will shake the entire vehicle, a bone-rattling tremor that persists for the first 2 minutes of flight. Then, abruptly, the boosters burn out and separate, and the ride smooths dramatically. The core stage continues to accelerate them, and approximately 8 minutes after launch, the main engines cut off. The silence is sudden, the crushing pressure vanishes, and their arms gently float from their laps. Pencils drift out of pockets, and anything unstrapped slowly lifts from its surface. They are in orbit, circling Earth in a highly elliptical path. For the first time, the crew of Artemis II can gaze out their 4 small but functional windows and behold the planet below. From their altitude, the unmistakable curvature of Earth is breathtaking, and the thin blue line of atmosphere, barely visible against the inky blackness of space, is the sole barrier protecting 8 billion people from the unforgiving vacuum. For the next several hours, the mission enters a critical verification phase. The crew and mission control meticulously inspect every system on the spacecraft: life support, propulsion, navigation, communications, thermal control, one by one, confirming Orion is robust enough for the arduous journey ahead. Because once they commit to the Moon, there will be no space station for refuge, no rescue vehicle waiting in orbit, they will be entirely on their own. This phase also marks a truly novel aspect of Artemis II. Reed Wiseman and Victor Glover will take manual control of Orion, actively flying the spacecraft to test its handling characteristics. They will execute proximity operations, a series of maneuvers utilizing the European Service Module's engines to demonstrate that a crew can precisely guide this vehicle through complex procedures, such as docking with a future lunar gateway or delicate positioning near the Moon's surface. This is not autopilot, this is hands-on control, eyes on the instruments, proving that humans can indeed operate this sophisticated machine in the depths of space. The European Service Module, built by Airbus for the European Space Agency, is the essential workhorse affixed to Orion's aft. It provides propulsion, electrical power from its 4 solar array wings, thermal control, and stores the vital water and gases that sustain the crew. Without it, Orion is merely a capsule; with it, Orion transforms into a true deep space vehicle. With Earth orbit tests complete, the crew prepares for the single most consequential engine burn of the entire mission, the translunar injection. This is the pivotal moment Orion ceases its orbit around Earth and commits to the Moon. The SLS upper stage fires one final time, accelerating the spacecraft to the immense velocity required to break free of Earth's gravitational grip, sending it coasting toward the Moon on a long, curving trajectory. After this burn, the upper stage separates, and Orion is truly on its own. 4 people in a capsule, now approximately 386,243 kilometers from their destination, propelled by momentum with the European Service Module providing essential course corrections along the way. Should anything go catastrophically wrong from this point, the free return trajectory offers a singular, stark backup plan. It will use the Moon's gravity to slingshot them back to Earth, the same emergency path that saved the Apollo 13 crew in 1970. This isn't a comforting contingency, it is their only one. Now, imagine their daily life for the next 4 days as they coast outbound. Earth shrinks behind them, home becoming smaller in the window with each passing hour. The communication delay with Houston steadily lengthens, though only by about 1.3 seconds each way at the Moon. Still, it's enough to make conversations feel subtly off. You speak, you wait, the answer returns a beat late. It's a constant, gentle reminder that you are genuinely leaving. Inside Orion's cabin, the space has been meticulously reconfigured. Koch and Hansen have stowed the foot pans from their seats and folded away equipment to maximize living space. The toilet is discreetly set up under the floor near the main hatch, occupying a mere 0.14 cubic meters. A curtain provides what privacy is possible when one of your crewmates is 1.88 meters tall, in a bathroom the size of a small closet. The waste system collects urine and vents it into space, while solid waste is sealed in bags and stored for the journey home. There's no water recycling on this mission. The flight is short enough to keep things simple, but it means every drop of water they consume was loaded onto the spacecraft before launch. Food comes in pouches. A small hot plate warms them, and a water dispenser rehydrates freeze-dried meals, chosen by the astronauts themselves during tastings at NASA's Space Food Systems laboratory months prior. Options include shrimp, macaroni and cheese, and tortillas. Jeremy Hansen, the Canadian crew member, packed maple products and salmon bites from home. Most food is eaten at room temperature due to the warmer's limited capacity. Imagine eating lukewarm macaroni from a foil bag while floating in a metal tube 160,934 kilometers from the nearest restaurant. That's lunch on Artemis II. There's no fridge, no oven, no table. They squeeze food from pouches, meticulously chase floating crumbs before they can clog an air filter, and wash it down with water from a pressurized dispenser. Sleep is carefully managed, with 8 hours scheduled daily, except for the compressed first day where the crew rests in broken shifts. They sleep in hammock-like bags tethered to the capsule walls, all four sleeping simultaneously for most of the mission. There is no private bedroom, no door to close save for the toilet. The hum of the life support system is a constant presence, fans circulating oxygen, scrubbing carbon dioxide, regulating cabin temperature. It is not quiet, it is the sound of a machine keeping them alive. Exercise is mandatory, 30 minutes daily on a device called a flywheel, installed below the side hatch and doubling as the step used to enter the capsule on launch day. The flywheel functions like a cable-resistance machine, allowing for squats, deadlifts, and aerobic movements like rowing. It maxes out at 181.4 kilograms of load, which sounds substantial until compared to the International Space Station, where astronauts have multiple exercise machines collectively weighing over 1,814 kilograms and occupying 24.07 cubic meters. On Orion, they get a gadget the size of a carry-on suitcase. For 10 days, it's sufficient to slow the muscle and bone loss that begins almost immediately in microgravity. For longer missions, it would not be. Hygiene is kept to a bare minimum. There are no showers, the crew cleans up with wet wipes, liquid soap, and dry shampoo. Their personal hygiene kits contain toothbrushes, razors, and a hairbrush. Everything is done in a small designated area near the toilet. They brush their teeth, swallow the toothpaste or spit it into a wipe, and move on. Privacy is a luxury this spacecraft simply doesn't offer. They communicate with Earth using handheld microphones, headsets, and a system enabling video calls with mission control and their families. They have tablets and laptops loaded with procedures and, notably, entertainment selected before launch. While NASA keeps the playlist confidential, it's a safe bet that someone packed a movie about space travel, because astronauts are precisely the kind of people who would watch a space movie while actually being in space. For days out, the moon begins to swell in their windows, and this is the moment the mission transcends from an engineering test to something profoundly human. These four individuals will gaze upon the far side of the moon with their own eyes, a sight no human has witnessed since 1972. Orion will journey farther from Earth than any crewed spacecraft has ever traveled, surpassing the record set by Apollo 13. At their most distant point, they will be over 370,149 kilometers from home. From their windows, Earth will be small enough to cover with an outstretched thumb, the entirety of human existence, obscured by a fingertip. The astronauts of Apollo 8 described it as the most profound loneliness they had ever experienced, and the Artemis II crew will go even farther. The moon's far side is geologically distinct from the near side, characterized by heavier cratering, a thicker crust, and fewer of the dark basaltic plains we see at night. No human has ever observed it at this distance with the advanced suite of modern instruments Orion carries. The crew will photograph it, study it, and gather data that will directly inform planning for Artemis III and beyond. They will also be continuously monitoring radiation levels, because once they leave the protective embrace of Earth's magnetic field, the rules of space change dramatically. Galactic cosmic rays and solar energetic particles become very real concerns, invisible threats that can penetrate the spacecraft walls and the bodies of the crew. Orion is equipped with a few shielded areas, including storage bays and the space near the toilet, where the crew can shelter during a solar particle event. That is the plan. If a major solar storm erupts while they are on the far side of the moon, they will hunker down by the bathroom and wait it out. NASA's space weather team has been working tirelessly to refine their forecasts for precisely this scenario, because a severe solar event at the wrong moment could deliver a dangerous radiation dose to all four crew members with no true escape. After the lunar flyby, gravity takes over, doing most of the work. Orion swings behind the moon, picks up gravitational momentum, and begins the long coast back toward Earth. The journey home will span roughly 4 to 5 days. During this return leg, the crew continues their diligent monitoring of systems, conducts medical checks, and meticulously documents their unique experience. They are the first humans to provide real-time feedback on how Orion performs in deep space conditions with a crew aboard, invaluable data that no simulation or uncrewed test can replicate. How does the cabin temperature truly feel after 5 days? Do the sleeping bags keep them stable, or do they drift? Does the carbon dioxide scrubber maintain air fresh enough for clear thought? These critical answers can only come from having humans inside the machine. As Earth steadily grows larger in their windows, the crew begins preparing for the mission segment that has generated more engineering anxiety than any other, reentry. During the uncrewed Artemis I flight in 2022, the Orion capsule returned, and outwardly, everything appeared nominal. The spacecraft splashed down safely, and cabin temperatures never exceeded design limits. By all visible measures, it was a resounding success. However, when engineers meticulously inspected the heat shield afterward, they discovered something disturbing. Over 100 locations where the ablative material, a substance called avcoat, designed to burn away gradually and carry heat with it, had cracked and broken off in irregular chunks. This was not the smooth, controlled erosion they had designed for, but rather a jagged, unpredictable loss of material. For separation bolts embedded in the heat shield had partially melted through their thermal barriers, leaving deep gouges instead of the expected char pattern. The investigation spanned nearly 2 years. What they found was that gases generated inside the avcoat during re-entry had no way to escape quickly enough. Pressure built up within the material, causing it to crack and blow off in pieces. The root cause was linked to the skip re-entry technique used on Artemis I, where Orion dipped into the atmosphere, bounced back into space, then re-entered a second time. This pause between atmospheric contacts allowed heat energy to accumulate inside the shield material without ablating properly. The gases formed, pressure built, and the shield fractured. NASA's ground testing facilities had not detected this beforehand because their tests used higher heating rates than the spacecraft actually experienced in flight. At those higher rates, the material behaved as expected. It was the moderate, sustained heating of the skip re-entry that caused the failure. For Artemis II, NASA made a critical decision. They kept the same avcoat heat shield material, opting not to redesign it. Instead, they changed the trajectory. Orion will now enter the atmosphere on a steeper, more direct path, eliminating the skip. It will be one continuous descent from 40,000 kilometers per hour to splashdown. This strategy reduces the time the shield spends in the specific temperature zone that caused the cracking on Artemis I. The trade-off, however, is higher deceleration forces on the crew. A steeper entry means a faster slowdown, translating to more g-forces pressing the astronauts into their seats during those final, violent minutes. And violent is indeed the precise word. Orion will strike the top of Earth's atmosphere at approximately 40,000 kilometers per hour, that's Mach 32, 32 times the speed of sound. At such speeds, air molecules compress so violently in front of the capsule that they form a sheath of superheated plasma reaching 2,760 degrees Celsius, roughly half the temperature of the Sun's surface. The avcoat is designed to absorb this heat and burn away in a controlled fashion, carrying the thermal energy with it. Just a few centimeters of resin-coated silica stand between the crew and incineration. On the other side of that material, the astronauts are meant to experience comfortable cabin temperatures. That is the critical margin they are working with. Inside the capsule, the astronauts will feel the forces steadily build, first a gentle tug, then a steady push, and finally a crushing weight. As deceleration climbs, their bodies become heavier and heavier, and breathing requires immense effort. The windows glow orange, then white, as the plasma envelopes the capsule. Communications black out briefly as this ionized gas blocks radio signals. For a few intense minutes, the crew of Artemis II is utterly alone, no voice from Houston, no telemetry, just extreme heat, immense pressure, and the sound of a spacecraft screaming through the atmosphere at an unprecedented speed. When the capsule slows below supersonic speeds, the drogue parachutes deploy, yanking the spacecraft into a more stable descent attitude. Then, 3 massive main parachutes billow open above the Pacific Ocean near San Diego. The capsule swings beneath them, descending rapidly toward the water. Splashdown is hard, not gentle. The capsule slams into the ocean surface and bobs in the swells while a U.S. Navy recovery team, aboard a San Antonio-class amphibious transport dock, moves in to secure the vehicle and extract the crew. Divers enter the water, attach flotation collars and tow lines, and the capsule is winched aboard. The hatch opens. 4 people breathe outdoor air for the first time in 10 days. Their legs will feel weak, and their sense of balance will be profoundly off after 10 days in microgravity. Even standing upright will require intense concentration as their inner ears recalibrate to a world where down means something again. They will have traveled approximately 408,000 kilometers, the farthest any humans have journeyed in over half a century. And all of it, inside a capsule Christina Koch once compared to a minivan. There's something almost absurd about that comparison, and I think it perfectly captures the essence of this entire mission. We are sending 4 individuals farther from Earth than any living human has ever been, and they are doing it in a space the size of a family car. They will eat rehydrated shrimp from a pouch, sleep tethered to a wall, and exercise with a glorified resistance band bolted to the floor. They will clean themselves with wet wipes. And they will stare out their windows at the far side of the moon, at the entirety of Earth reduced to a blue dot, knowing that the only thing bringing them home is a heat shield that cracked the last time it was used. This isn't a failure of engineering, it's the profound reality of what it means to explore. We don't go to the moon because it's safe, we never did. Apollo 13 proved that. Columbia and Challenger proved that in the most painful way possible. Every crewed mission beyond Earth orbit is a calculated bet, an exhaustively analyzed, meticulously planned wager that the engineering will hold, that the math is right, that the materials will perform as the models predict. Artemis II is precisely that bet, made with full knowledge of what went wrong last time, and a conviction that the chosen fix is good enough. 4 people are wagering their lives on it. And frankly, they know that better than anyone else. They've seen the photos of the cracked heat shield. They've sat in the briefings. They've asked the hard questions. And they have decided to go anyway. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. They will strap in, feel the engines ignite beneath them, and leave Earth behind for 10 days. When they return, if the shield holds, if the parachutes deploy, if the ocean catches them just right, they will have opened a door that has been closed since 1972. Not the door to the moon itself, for we opened that a long time ago. But the door to going back.